abundant. But that said, this specific Andrew Tate, Ben Shapiro situation, it's not this outlier. In fact, it brings us to more news regarding general conservative infighting. Most of these, they deal less with the influencer space and more with the directly political space. With, for example, just a week until the inauguration, things in Trump world get intense, where you had VP-elect J.D. Vance causing a bit of a stir over the weekend for comments that he made to Fox News about which people that are serving time for January 6th should receive or should not receive pardons from Trump.
Look, if you protested peacefully on January the 6th and you've had Merrick Garland's Department of Justice treat you like a gang member, you should be pardoned. If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. And there's a little bit of a gray area there, but we're very much committed to seeing the equal administration of law. And there are a lot of people, we think, in the wake of January the 6th who were prosecuted unfairly. We need to rectify that.
And those remarks from Vance are super significant because they go much further than anything Trump has said when questioned about pardons for violent offenders, where Trump has kind of long evaded giving a direct answer about who among the 1,500 who have been charged in connection with the insurrection will receive the pardons that he has long promised as one of his first acts in office. Though, in the past, he has said that there might be exceptions if, quote, somebody was radical, crazy. But then, just last week, when asked whether he was planning to pardon J6ers charged with violent offenses, Trump responded, "We'll be looking at the whole thing, but I'll be making major pardons, yes." And so Vance's latest remarks, they've spurred a good deal of backlash online from Trump supporters, with a seeing, among other things, an ex-account claiming to represent Jake Lang, who is awaiting trial on charges of beating police officers at the Capitol, making a lengthy post and sharing a video message condemning Vance's remarks. With that account writing, the J6 hostages' families have been crushed by the mixed messaging coming from the White House on the J6 pardon process recently, and saying we are utterly confused, with him then going on to falsely claim that all rioters charged were protesting peacefully but were set up and entrapped by the FBI and had unfair trials in a corrupt justice system. With him adding, how can J6ers be condemned/left behind and some be deemed worthy of leaving this hellhole torture when all have been railroaded in a two-tiered persecution? With him then concluding by calling for everyone charged in the insurrection to be pardoned. With it also being echoed by another user who claimed to be a January 6th survivor who posted, telling your own supporters that the election was stolen and then not giving them a pardon or commutation after you sent them into what you call a Fedsurrection and trap is a betrayal. All of the J6 defendants must be saved. J.D. Vance is wrong, and I hope Trump will save his own supporters. With it then seeming like the backlash got so bad that Vance himself actually responded to a post by the Hodge twins saying that he donated to the January 6th Political Prisoner Fund and has been defending these guys for years. With him then claiming that there were federal informants in the crowd who shouldn't get a pardon and arguing that he wasn't walking back Trump's claims. And adding, I assure you, we care about people unjustly locked up. Yes, that includes people provoked and it includes people who got a garbage trial. But then also, that wasn't the only recent battle in Trump world, because there's also now a lot of coverage around recent remarks made by Steve Bannon, who of course was one of the architects of Trump's 2016 campaign, who served as a close advisor. And man, we saw Bannon absolutely tearing into Elon Musk in a recent interview with an Italian newspaper and vowing to oust him from Trump's orbit, saying, he is a truly evil guy, a very bad guy. I made it my personal thing to take this guy down. With him then adding, I will have Elon Musk run out of here by inauguration day. Also, among the other things he said, Bannon went as far as to say that Musk should go back to South Africa where he was born, and continuing, why do we have South Africans, the most racist people on earth, white South Africans, we have them making any comments at all on what goes on in the United States? Right? And notably here, these comments come after Bannon and Musk also recently had another high-profile battle over a visa program that allows foreigners with technical skills to work in the US for up to 6 years. With Bannon, along with many other anti-immigration Trump supporters, condemning Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, and other so-called tech bros for supporting those visas, arguing that they take jobs away from US workers. With then Musk and Ramaswamy essentially hitting back by arguing that there are not enough good American workers for those jobs. Right? And also with this, I want to say it has been very notable the differences in the ways that media outlets have been reporting on Bannon's latest remarks. Because, on one end of the spectrum, you have more left-leaning outlets kind of painting this as a significant moment of infighting among key Trump allies that represent a broader rift between two different factions of Trump supporters. With outlets like the Washington Post writing, while previous battles were mostly between the old Republican establishment and MAGA, the new ones are largely between various sectors of the MAGA movement jostling for influence. With the New York Times also echoing that and saying that Bannon's remarks reflect broader tension on the right in the United States about the direction of the movement that Mr. Trump has championed, and fears that Mr. Musk could use his influence to sideline powerful figures within that movement to promote his own agenda. But then when you look at kind of more right-leaning outlets, they generally more painted this as a one-off situation between Musk and Bannon rather than a broader issue, with some even trying to paint Bannon as a sort of loose cannon lashing out, and the New York Post publishing a headline that read, Steve Bannon goes berserk on Elon Musk. But for now, we're gonna have to see how all this plays out on all these different fronts and kind of just more generally. And so with that, I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions in those comments down below, and while you do that, or you just continue listening to me while you're eating your food, let me say welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show. You daily dive into the news, how it's being covered, and reactions to it with new shows every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And today we've got a lot more news to break down, starting with next up, this crazy Mike Beeler and David Wells situation. And don't worry, there's no reason you should know who they are. They're two roommates in their 60s. Well, one day in Washington State back in 2021, they were having dinner in their apartment when David reportedly choked on a piece of steak, with Mike later recalling he fell over a chair. I thought he was dead then. And so an ambulance rushes David unconscious and not breathing to a hospital in Vancouver. And it turned out that Mike was kind of right, because the staff there put David on life support and then reached out to his family to then present them with the choice of taking him off of it. Except, here's the problem and the reason we're talking about this today. Instead of calling his family, allegedly, somewhere along the line, someone made a terrible mistake. They incorrectly identified David as Mike, his roommate. So they reportedly called Mike's sister, Debbie Danielson, who later recalled to KGW News.
They said he's basically brain dead. Do you want us to keep him on life support, or do you want to pull the plug?
So our decision was to tell him to take him off life support.
And so with the consent of Mike's family, the hospital reportedly pulled the plug on David, meaning David's family doesn't even know that he's now dead, and Mike's family is grieving even though he's completely fine. And then apparently nobody caught this mistake, or at least no one spoke up if they did, as the hospital then reported the death to the county medical examiner, and a local paper ran a death notice for Mike. Meanwhile, a funeral home receives David's body, reportedly believing that it was Mike, and then asked Mike's family about final wishes, cremation, and organ donation. With Mike's brother-in-law recalling, when we went to the funeral director, I was like, don't we need to identify him? No, we'll just take it from here. And so reportedly they're making all these arrangements, mourning their loss, delivering the tragic news to people in their lives for a full week before Mike apparently rose from the dead in their eyes, beating Jesus' record of 3 days. With him reportedly just casually calling his sister Debbie out of the blue, just concerned because his cell phone account had been shut down.
I said, you can't be alive, you're dead. He goes, no, I'm not. I'm quite alive.
Well, yeah, this discovery came as a relief. They also then had to contend with the fact that they made the decision to end the life of someone they didn't even know. Speaking of which, David's family was still in the dark about all this. So when the police found out, they told the medical examiner who notified David's son, Sean. But according to Sean, they left out the crucial detail that his father had been misidentified and pulled off life support by someone else. With him telling KGW, they basically told me there was a medical emergency regarding my father and he had been pronounced dead. And he claims that he didn't actually learn the truth for another 2 years when a reporter reached out to him about the story. And so now Sean, Mike, and Debbie, they're all suing the hospital, the ambulance service, the funeral home, and the medical examiner. And so with all of this insanity playing out, I guess there is a lesson to be learned. It is not a new lesson, but it's pretty much be skeptical of everything. And then I guess also more specifically, if you think someone is dead, definitely identify the body and/or try calling their phone. Worst case scenario, I guess you just hear their voice again on their voicemail. Best case, not actually dead. And then we'll get back to the news in just a moment, but as someone who's always been on the move between meetings, gym sessions, and weekend adventures, finding the perfect all-weather shoe, it was like finding gold. Those rainy, slushy days that usually make you want to stay inside. No, not anymore. Thanks to today's sponsor, Vessi, there's no longer a need for separate shoes for different weather and occasions. One of the coolest parts is I can just step right into puddles. Deliberately, like my inner child loves it. And my feet stay completely dry. And especially since I've moved, I've been in surprise downpours. And while everyone else was doing that awkward run and dodge move, I was just strolling through it. I'm kind of feeling a little smug, if I'm being honest. And all of this, as they've really nailed both the style and function. These aren't just rain boots in disguise. They actually look good with everything from jeans to gym shorts. And as far as the comfort, let's just say I forget I'm wearing them half the time. And for anyone looking to crush their 2025 goals, whether it's daily walks, weekend hikes, or just wanting to look put together in any weather, you need these in your life. So if you're ready to say yes to every adventure this year with their weekend sneaker, head on over to vessi.com/DeFranco and get an automatic 15% off your first order at checkout. Trust me, your feet will thank you. And that's vessi.com/DeFranco. Get them now while they have your size. But then from that, we need to talk about big updates around the LA fires, starting with the fact that the death toll from the fires has risen to 25, and that number, it's still expected to get larger, especially as you have weather conditions now almost as good as they get for existing fires to spread and for new ones to start. And in fact, we saw a new fire breakout near Auto Center Drive in the city of Ventura, which is around 60 miles from downtown LA. But luckily, it does appear that firefighters have that one handled so far, but also it does serve as another unfortunate reminder for just how ripe the conditions are for sparks to fly, especially because, as expected, expected, the winds have been picking up throughout the area, and officials have warned that the risk of new fires forming or existing ones spreading, that'll be especially high for at least today going into tomorrow. They're saying LA and Ventura counties remaining under red flag warnings for extreme fire danger, and what's been referred to as 2 smaller areas under particularly dangerous situation red flag warnings. And the reason I say what's been described as smaller is those smaller areas, we're still talking about areas that are home to roughly 13 million people. And also, when I say particularly dangerous, I'm talking about what the National Weather Service itself has described as